Well, good morning. I am Julie Alston. I'm Mr. Alston's wife, for those of you that don't know me. Today, we're going to talk about some of my favorite things, the exemptions that the state of California has in place so that you will not have to pay the tax, sales tax, or the transaction tax on your vessel, airplane, or motorhome that you're buying. So, and I'd like to help you plan ahead for this next year, because I know a lot of people are going to be buying those airplanes and things like that. So this is everything that you need to know. So this one I'll let Mr. Alston do, and he can tell you a little bit more about our company.
It's all right there if you just want to read it. If you want to ask me anything about it, just ask and I'll answer it. Been in this business quite a while. We've done over 2,300 of these cases, and not one of our clients has ever paid a dime in tax.
And I tend to be a little bit of a bulldog when it comes to making sure that you give me everything that I need to make you successful to get your exemption. So that's why I'm kind of excited to tell you about this, because I think this is a great thing for people to be doing. And if you have clients that you want to refer to us, that would be great as well. Okay, so will it go to the next? There we go. And go ahead.
Hey, I heard you want to save a boatload of tax on your vessel purchase, or an aircraft purchase, or a vehicle purchase in the state of California. If you want to do that, you need to contact me. I'm talking about you saving tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars in tax. And we have done thousands of these, thousands, plural, thousands of these. If you want to be part of that and you want to save all that money, the call is free. Reach out to us. What have you got to lose? One of the best ways for you to get to know us is to click the link. And we never know whether it's up or down. Just depending upon whatever platform you're using, follow the directions. Click the link. Get the free ebook. That's the beginning of a new relationship between you and I, so that you don't have to pay any tax on your vessel, aircraft, or vehicle purchases. And I guarantee it.
So that book that Mr. Olson was talking about, when you stay for the whole webinar, then at the end, there'll be a code for you to be able to click on that, and so that you'll be able to get that book that he just spoke about. So what is the difference between use tax and sales tax? So sales tax is when you buy it here in California, you go down to the store and you buy something, they're going to charge you sales tax. When we have you take possession of the mobile transportation equipment outside the state of California, then it's called a use tax. And the main difference is who's collecting that tax. So sales tax gets collected by the seller right here in California, where the use tax, you are responsible to pay it to the state of California. So the state of California does not have to send you a bill when you purchase your airplane, vehicle, or vessel. In fact, they usually wait 2 years, because you have during your first year of ownership, you have to pay that use tax. And if you don't, they charge you a 10% penalty, failure to file, and the interest. So that's the difference. And you have to also understand that sales tax and use tax is different in every state in the United States. We only do California, but if you're going to hire us, I always tell you where to take delivery, because some of the states have flyaway, some of them have casual sales, some of them don't have sales tax. So I tell you where the best place to take delivery. That's part of our service. I'm not going to save you the money here in California to have you pay it someplace else. So the key questions are, when you're planning for the exemption, is have you met the usage requirements, or can you meet the usage requirements? And have you consulted a tax expert on compliance? That would be me. And do you have a pre-purchase planning strategy? Because there are things at times that are written in your purchase agreements that will make it taxable. And so that's why it is so important to get us involved early so I can look at the purchase agreement before you sign it. So we're going to be talking about 3 of the most popular exemptions today. My most popular is the interstate commerce, which we use for airplanes, because you can keep that plane in California every night of the week. If you're a vessel owner, we use the principal use test. We also use it for airplanes and for motorhomes. And then we have the common carrier exemption, which is when you put it on somebody's Part 135 certificate. So each one of these exemptions have different qualifications. They're very specific. So when you call in to talk to me or Tom, or even Dallas, she also does a lot of our sales calls, we ask you a series of questions so that we can find the best exemption for you. What is going to meet your needs and something that that can be done easily by you. So you can take full advantage of this. This is not, it's actually written in the tax law. I want you to understand that. This is not tax avoidance. This is something that's actually, and it's not fraud, it's something that's actually written in the California law. So the first one I'm going to talk to you about is the interstate commerce test. So there are 3 steps that you have to do in order to qualify for this test. First of all, you have to take possession of your aircraft outside the state of California. So for our purposes today, we're going to say that you're going to take possession of your aircraft in Oregon. Oregon is a tax-free state. They don't have sales tax there. Then you're going to fly your aircraft to someplace not Oregon and not California. So let's say we're going to go to Montana and we're going to do business in Montana. And we teach you how to document that business, by the way. And then you're going to fly the plane into California. All along the way, you are going to get me the flight log, the fuel receipts, and when you land in California, you're going to get a fuel receipt. That is going to start your test period. And for the next 6 months, we require you to do 60% of your flight hours across state lines for business. So that means you can even go down to Mexico, anywhere in the United States, or you can go up to Canada. Or I have clients go over to Europe if they're planning to do business. Now, the state of California only requires you to do over 50%. So the reason why we require 60, because if we told you guys you had to be over 50%, you would come in at 51 or 52%. I can guarantee it. And then the state of California only has to throw out 1 or 2 legs and your plane is now taxable. We can also use the interstate commerce for your large motorhomes because you can travel across state lines with a motorhome as well. So we do this for the motorhomes. And so once we finish, for 6 months, you're going to send me your flight logs, your fuel receipts, and your business documentation. I'm going to compare that and make sure that everything is perfect. If we're missing something, I email you back. If not, I email you back. Either way, I email you back a spreadsheet that shows you exactly what your percentage you're at. If you don't know how to document a business flight that you're going to take, all you have to do is call me. I'll tell you exactly how to document it. And the other thing I want you to understand is flight training and maintenance are not considered business. Even if you're taking it out of state, those are not considered business. So those would count on what I call the bad side of the test. That would have to be in your 40% column. So does anybody have any questions about the interstate commerce test? You guys all have this down pat, right? Okay. Then we go to the principal use test. This one is, I use this a lot for vessels. So you take possession outside of California, which for a vessel would be outside the 3-mile mark. And you have to keep it outside the state of California for a year. And you may think, oh, I could do this on my own. And maybe you could. But do you want to be responsible for making sure that you keep all the proper logs and all the receipts and get all the letters from where you've been or do you want some guidance with that? So I can set you up for success and make sure that you have all the proper documentation and everything done the way that the CDTFA, which is the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration, wants it done. But they have very specific documentation rules that they want and things that they want. So it's not just you saying, oh, I was here and I was there. You have to be able to prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt. So that's what you hire me for. The common carrier exemption, this one you can actually take possession of the plane in California. I do not recommend it, but you can. It's written into the law that you can. And the test period starts the first time the wheels leave the ground after you take possession. And then it lasts for 12 months. So, and only Part 135 flights, that means a flight that you have a passenger or cargo on board, count on the good side of the test. So if you are doing a reposition leg that is a Part 91 flight, those count on the bad side of the test. So if you fly from California to New York with passengers on board, that leg will be on the good side of the test. But you fly back empty, that leg will be on the bad side of the test. So you can see where there might be this might be a little bit hard for you to get to that 60% like you need to be. So this one is very important that you are able to, make sure you have passengers or cargo on board the legs. And it does require you, by the way, they have kind of changed the interpretation of the law on this, because it does require you to give me the charter invoices. And in previous years, we have been able to cross out who the charter invoices were going to. The state of California no longer accepts any charter invoice that has been redacted. You have to show everything. So your management company that has the Part 135 certificate will have to agree to give me their charter invoices with no redactions. So that's something that has changed since August of this year, just so you know.
August of 24.
Yes. So you can see that each one of these exemptions are different. They have different time periods. Either way, when we get done with whatever time period that you're in, we put together a specialized tax return for you that we send off to the state of California. And the lovely Marcella here in our office calls every month to see where your tax return is in their cycle. And she emails you. So we do keep up on it, but at this time, it's taking about a year to a year and a half to get through the state's requirements, because they have 2 levels of review, and the second level only has 1 or 2 reviewers at this time. So it is taking time. So when you hire us, we'll be working for you anywhere from a year and a half to 2.5 years. But our valuable final product is that you get your exemption letter. That's my favorite phone call to make, because when I get it in the mail, I call you. And then you get to talk to Marcella again, because you get to tell her about your how things went with us. So I love those phone calls. I highly recommend that you hire us 6 to 8 weeks before you take possession of your vehicle, vessel, or motorhome. Because for one thing, before you sign that purchase agreement, we need to look at it. We need to make sure that you're going to be able to meet everything, that we find a good place for you to take delivery. Make sure you understand what logs need to look like. I have an initial letter that I send out to you to go over all the details with you. If you have any questions about the business documentation and how to structure it, what needs to be done, those are all things that we do in that 6 to 8 weeks before you take delivery. Because I actually give you step-by-step delivery and first functional use instructions that set you up for success. So that gets you going in the right direction, heading the right way, and I have you send me all that right as soon as you're done with it during that first week, because that way, if we need to make any adjustments, that's the time that it needs to be done. Okay, so do you guys have any questions? You guys are the quietest group I've had in a long time. So each exemption does have its special rules and conditions. And like I said, the law itself has not changed, but the interpretation of the law and how the state is looking at things has changed. I used to have tax returns that were about this big that I sent to the state, and now they're about this big. You have to understand, because we talk to them on a daily basis, when they change their interpretation of the law, I know, and I immediately start requiring more paperwork from my clients, because I take it very personal. I don't like to lose, and I don't lose. So therefore, when things change, I just change things for you so that you know this is exactly what I need. And I make sure we are in the perfection business. So before your file leaves my office, there's 2 other people that have never talked to you that review your file. And before it even goes to the state of California. And we do that because there's things that you've told me. A lot of you will tell me stories. And when I'm doing your business documentation, I'm remembering the stories where a brand new person that has never heard your stories will see all the little holes that were left. And so that's something that we do. If you send, just by the way, for those of you, flight logs are a work of fiction. We all know that you could sit down the night before everything is due to me and sit out and write your flight logs out and leave all the California legs off because you think, well, no, she's going to make sure she's going to be upset that I did this. Well, guess what? The state of California uses something similar to FlightAware. And so they know if you've left out flights. And then if you do that, then it'll automatically be taxable. So those are things that you don't want. I make sure all your flight logs match all your fuel receipts. Do you know how many times that a fuel receipt will have the wrong date on it? Several. Because somebody hasn't updated the date in the credit card machine or something happens. So these are all things that if you're not paying attention to, that it will cause disaster for you. Or whenever you email somebody and say, hey, thank you for coming and visiting with me. And they say, yeah, it was great to meet you on the 13th last Friday. And last Friday was the 15th. Guess what? That's a mistake that you're going to have corrected. These are things that can cost you a lot of money. And that's what I'm here for.
The reason we're showing you this slide now is if you look at the trends of sales, primarily in the aircraft industry, since it was made aware to the public in the United States that Trump had been reelected, sales have gone up. And it's being met by something else that's pushing it up, is that all these back orders at the manufacturers are going to start to be delivered in 2025. This is going to be a huge year of aircraft sales, because every time the factory delivers a new airplane out of their inventory, 99% of the time that creates a new resale of their existing airplane. So both of those, everything counts twice. It's just going to be a great year. Go ahead and, while I'm talking, just read for the what people have had to say about what's going on. And I got a report from Gene Clow up in the Northwest about aircraft. I think there was 139 business jets sold in just December, and that was up from it used to be 30 to 40 to 50 were sold every month, and in December it was 139, and January is looking great. And although I can't prove this, as aircraft sales go up, so do vessel sales, and so do motorhome sales, because they're people who are in the same categories of income. So be ready. Don't plan for a down year, plan for an up year, because it's going to be a great year. Sorry for interrupting you, babe, but I want to take
Oh, no, I'm glad you did that. We'd love for you to come out and see us at some of the events. Like we're going to be at the AOPA fly-in in Buckeye. I would love you to come by our booth. Last year I had clients stop by, they get to see some of the airplanes. You get to watch the air show. It's just a lot of fun. So if you can, and you're in that area, please come by and see us at Buckeye. We have our next two webinars that we're going to be having on the 27th of February and March 18th. You can sign up for those. Just email me or Marcella. We'll be happy to get you signed up for these already. Or just I think Marcella said to put it in the chat and she'll get your email and she'll send it to you. These are going to be a lot of fun. We don't just tell you about the exemptions that we do. We have referral people and people that we do business with that we like to be able to tell you about theirs. I cannot wait for our women's webinar that we're doing. We have a lot of ladies, both aviation and in the marine business, and it is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a panel of women, and we're going to be asking a lot of different questions, and we get to all share what we do. And so I'm very excited about that. So please come join us on one of our two new webinars that we're going to be doing in February and March.
And if you notice, the Buckeye thing supports the fact that we do propeller-driven aircraft. We don't just do jets. I don't care what your price of your airplane is or what your make of your airplane is. If we can figure out a way that you and I can agree on the price that we charge to do things, we will be glad to work with you. You don't have to be a jet owner to work with us.
So I appreciate you attending. Now remember the book that Mr. Olson talked about in the earlier video? This is where you get to scan, so you get your book for free. And if you want a copy of our webinar, you can email that Department 17 is Marcella, and she will be happy to give you a copy of our webinar. So please make sure and do that so that you guys can find out a little bit more about us, and anything that you want to pass on to somebody else, we'd be happy to hear from them. So as Marcella would say, I talk way too fast because our webinars are usually longer than this. So right now is your chance to ask me any question you want, and I will. Yes.
Hey, this is Aaron. I spoke to you about 2 weeks ago. To refresh your memory, I'm working with someone else. We're just trying to start a flight club here in California.
Okay.
We've been looking at some potential planes, like used secondhand planes out of state, and you gave me some great ideas of what I need to do when I'm ready to actually make an offer on them. I'll obviously contact you to make sure the contract is set up properly. We also saw one plane that was based here already in California. It's held in an LLC, a California LLC, and I was told by the seller, like, oh, you don't need to worry about like getting delivery out of state because we'll just transfer the membership shares of the LLC to you, and it's it's completely just unregistered or whatever. It's not a public thing. So I wanted to ask you sort of about that concept about just transferring shares of LLCs to another owner.
Okay. In my opinion, if the only thing in that LLC is that airplane, that's considered tax fraud.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And also I want to make sure that you understand is that if you're buying that LLC, you are also buying that all of that LLC's liabilities. So if there's any liability or anybody that's anything that anybody's went after that LLC for, you're buying all that responsibility.
And you owe it.
And you'll owe it.
Way to get out of it.
So
so you'd recommend almost like, let's say that plane was used for training or something, and there might have been something not disclosed to me. So it's almost better just to transfer the aircraft into a new LLC.
You need to purchase the aircraft from that LLC, okay. And if you want to put it in an LLC, that's not a problem. But you want to purchase it. because a lot of boat people do this, and sooner or later, the state of California is going to figure this out. I can tell you right now that they are on a mission because they've already figured out a lot of things. But once they figure out what people are doing, then they can go back, because if that is considered tax fraud, so there's no statute of limitations
Oh,
on
okay.
fraud. So I
Okay.
would, I
didn't
would
know
not,
that.
that's not
It's good to
something that I
know.
would do at
That's
all.
what that's what the reseller was telling me, like, oh, we'll just transfer the LLC to you. So, okay.
No.
So if I were just to take, if it's in California now, California LLC, and I'm going to keep it in California, just buy it under a new single entity LLC, and then just
And
take delivery at the state or do whatever you were telling me before about, and start showing out of state business for the first 6 months, I guess, right?
right, and just make sure that in your purchase agreement, this is why you send the purchase agreement to me, especially if it's a California owner, because in the purchase agreement, you need to make sure that it states that the seller is responsible for delivering it to you to whatever out-of-state location that you decide on.
Okay.
And even if you have
Okay.
to up the purchase price of the plane to cover
Right.
that, then that's what you want to do. But you cannot pay for the trip. You cannot pay for the movement of the plane from California to the delivery point.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Well, thanks for that. I'll keep that in mind and obviously contact you when I find the one that I want to pursue here.
Perfect. Perfect.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
I'd like to ask everybody a question. I'll start with Marty. Marty, what did you hope to get from this webinar, and did you get it?
I was hoping to learn a little bit more about maybe purchasing an aircraft to train my students out of, but I think I heard that training is not covered. So
Oh, no, wait, Marty, no. If you bought the plane, I want to make sure, I didn't realize I had flight schools in here. If you're the owner of the plane and you're doing flight training in your plane, then it does not count. But let's say you have a student that you're going to invoice and you are doing the flight training. You would start here in California, you fly over to Nevada, you land, and then you fly back into California. I'll teach you how to do your invoices. And then yes, that is considered business.
That, in that case, Marty, the interstate commerce test will work for you.
the interstate commerce test. All right. Thank
Yeah.
you.
That's the one where you take possession outside the state, like in Oregon or someplace. You go do first functional use and you bring it into California. That starts a 6-month test period. And then for the next 6 months, 60% of the flight hours have to be across state lines for business, which flying your student across state lines. And then I know sometimes you have to take a student and they have to do a cross country flight. There you go. That's business.
Okay. All right. I'll definitely be looking into that a lot more. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
So, Don Mitchell, did you get what you needed? What were you hoping to get, and what did you get from this webinar? You're going to have to unmute your microphone. There you go.
I was in the same category as Marty, as a flight instructor looking at purchasing an airplane. So I'm not knowing what questions to ask. So yes, I got a lot of information taken down, and thank you, Marty, for your question, because that answers a lot of things that I will be coming up against.
Okay. So when you
good
guys,
program.
yeah, when you guys find your planes, before you sign on the dotted line, please contact me. Okay.
She'll review your purchase agreements for free.
Yeah. So just
So you don't have
call
any
me.
excuse not to contact her.
Oh yeah, that's the truth, because that can make or break some things sometimes. That first step does a lot.
Don Rotunda, haven't talked to you in a long time. What were you hoping to get out of this webinar, and what did you get?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. I am interested more in a vehicle rather than an airplane now, so I've changed or I'm honing in my choice, and I've learned a lot about it. I've learned that I shouldn't do anything before buying. Before buying, I should talk to you, and that's a very valuable lesson.
And so just so you know, I do expensive cars too. Like I've done 2 Ferraris in the last 6 months. We've done the interstate commerce test. They actually drove them across state lines for business. And
Yeah, on a car, if at the moment I'm leasing a car. If I wanted
Okay.
to buy it, do I have to or I could buy a new car, but if I wanted to buy my leased car, is that something you'd be interested in? I mean, to avoid sales tax.
that would be a little bit different, and that one's kind of hard to explain. What I need you to do, Dawn, when this is over with, give me a call here at the office, and I can go over that with you.
Okay,
Because cars have to be at a certain
Yeah.
amount in order to make sense for you. Otherwise, it just doesn't make sense. So I want to kind of go over some things with you and see exactly where everything is. So that's the best way to do that.
I'm not at that stage yet. I have. So I mean, we're far away removed from it yet, and I may buy a new car rather than buy my own lease car.
Okay. So like I said, why don't you give me a
It's
call
a
today?
BMW.
Oh, yes. So just give me a
Okay.
call today. Why we're after this is over with, I'll be more than happy. Tom and I one of us can go over that with you. You know, the phone call is
Okay.
free.
Yeah, right.
And if I can't help you, I don't charge you. And sometimes even if you guys have friends that have already purchased like the aircraft or the vessel and they didn't know they had to pay the use tax, have them call us. The phone call is free. And if not, if anything, I can teach them how to pay the tax. I hate to say that, but sometimes people have done things completely wrong. So there's no other choice. I'm very transparent. I just tell them, well, you're going to have to pay the tax. I tell them how to do it. I help them fill out the paperwork even, because if I can't save you money, I'm not going to charge you money. It's not in me. I ethically cannot do that.
Okay,
So
very
Vino,
good.
this is Tom Alston.
Howdy. I actually joined this call with Aaron earlier. So I actually have a bit of a situation.
Okay.
I want to take possession of an airplane that belongs to a friend of mine. He's retiring and he said I can have it as a goodwill gesture. He offered it for below market price. It's in Washington. I used to live there. I've been in California for about 2.5, 3 years now. So I haven't taken the registration over. We handshook on a price, paid him for that. And he said, take the title and take it to California. So what's the best way I could bring it over and not pay
Call
sales
Julie.
tax?
That's the best way to do everything. Call Julie.
Okay.
Okay.
So number one, you don't want to take possession of it in Washington because you'll pay the tax there.
Okay.
They're worse than California.
Yeah.
So I'd probably have you go down to Oregon to take possession. And have you already changed the title with the FAA?
Nope. There's nothing on paper.
good.
Insurance, everything's on his name still.
Perfect.
Yep.
Will you be using the plane for business?
A little bit for business, a little bit for multi-engine flight instruction. My hope was that when I'm in California, I'll be doing a lot of cross-country times with all the ATP kids that want to get their 50 hours. So that's mostly what I bought it for.
Perfect. So I'm going to use you as an example.
Sure.
So what you're going to do is you're going to take possession of this plane in Oregon. And I have certain paperwork that you have to have filled out. If you don't have a purchase agreement, I even have some of those in stock where I could get it signed, because you will have to have a purchase agreement. Even though you guys just shook hands, you'll still need a purchase agreement. Then you're going to fly that plane from Oregon. And do you have someplace outside Oregon that you can go do business other than California?
Somewhere outside of Oregon, like Nevada?
Yes, Nevada would be great. So
Okay.
what can you do for business in Nevada?
Can I call it a flight instruction lesson or something?
So you're going to have your student inside the plane with you,
Sure.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, we can use that. You'll do flight instruction from Oregon. You're not going to land in California. You're going to fly from Oregon to Nevada. You're going to land. And I'm going to teach you how to invoice your student. And then you're going to leave Nevada and you're going to come to California. You're going to land in California and you're going to you're going to get fuel at all these places, by the way. And then it's going to start a 6-month test period. And for the next 6 months, 60% of those flight hours need to be across state lines. So if you're doing flight instruction across so they can get their so many hours, I'll show you how to document that. And then that would work beautifully. I do it all the time for flight instructors.
Okay. So I wanted to take the aircraft and put it into an LLC. I haven't registered an LLC yet. Do you recommend, does it matter which state that I pick for this then? For all
No.
of this? So I
From
can
a
pick
use
one in
tax point,
California.
from a use tax point of view, it doesn't matter where the LLC is. From a
Okay,
use
so
tax
just
point of view.
make one locally in California and then run through with this plan.
Yes. So
Okay.
you need to call me because number one, you don't want to transfer this plane until you have your LLC, because all of you need to hear this. So if any of you tuned out, I want you to tune back in. If you register your plane in, let's say, your name, and then 3 months later you decide, well, I want to put my plane in an LLC, and you register the plane you take and you transfer that registration from your name to that LLC, that's a new taxable transaction. Okay, so you don't ever you could change the address, but you don't ever transfer who owns that plane without talking to me first. Because that also ends your test period. So let's say you guys do all this and you come into California and you go to start your test period, and then somebody tells you, oh, this is what you need to do, and you decide to transfer that plane. But you're sitting at 0 because you haven't made any business hours. Guess what? You're going to pay the tax on the first transaction, and because the plane was sitting here in California, when you decide to transfer it, you get to pay it again on the second transaction. So these are the things that I can help you with, that this company can help you with, that my consultants or Mr. Alston can help you with, that you just don't know about.
Is the
Because of
tax based on like a book value or whatever I think I purchased this for on the purchase agreement?
It's based upon the purchase price. And we have to be able to prove what you paid for.
Okay. So in my case, I gave John $65,000, which was below market price for the plane. And
How much? I'm sorry. How much did you say you get?
65,000.
Okay.
And then we had a lot of work to do, so I paid for the propeller overhauls and all that stuff. It came up to about $100,000. What price? He said you can tell me whatever price you want and I'll put on the agreement. So is it in my advantage to put what I paid, less or more?
Can you call me so we can talk about this?
Sure.
And I'll give you, and then you can decide what you want to do. You don't have to hire me, but I need to tell you, but yeah, this is not something that I'll give you the answer, but it's just not something I need to
Appreciate it.
have
Thank you.
in
Yeah. Well,
solid concrete. So,
All right, it looks like we've talked to everyone who's currently on the call.
Hey, Julie.
yes,
Julie.
yes.
Hey, this is Aaron. I had one more question. And the question was, for the flight club that I'm working on, if it's like say a 152 and the price is like, 50,000 versus some of the other planes we're looking at, like LSA, that were over about 150,000 to 200,000, something below 100,000, like if it's only 50,000, does that not make sense then, based on whatever the minimum fees that you would charge to go through with all this exercise? Is it better just to pay the taxes in California? It's like, what's the threshold that you really recommend, before we jump through all these hoops?
Okay. I'm going to be very transparent. 75,000 is the threshold. If it's below that and you want to ask me questions, you need to call me,
Okay.
and that
We can do the initial letter.
there's
and
things
then
we can do if it's under 75,000. That's a little bit different. And
yeah, we have a program for $1,500. You get a copy of the initial letter that takes you through all the steps, and you get 2 full follow-up phone calls with me of about 15 minutes each, and it's only $1,500. So, and then I'm going to try to get you to continue to have us follow up on your paperwork for you. So it is because I'm really concerned about you being able to meet your the exemption process, but I'll be totally transparent about that. We will show you the initial letter that tells you how to do everything. I'll give you 2 follow-up phone calls with me. And then we're going to try to get you to let us at least quality control all of your documents and help you file it for additional charges. But we are very sympathetic to the fact that people who buy less expensive airplanes don't have any place to go. So actually, Julie and I just talked about that. I think it was last night.
Oh, nice. That's great to know. And I guess also, like, I think some other people who are like flight instructors here in California are looking to buy a plane and then like set up an LLC for the plane. I presume it doesn't, you might as well just file a California LLC since you're going to have to pay the $800 a year franchise tax board, whether it's out of state as a foreign operator in California. Is that correct?
That's
So you might
right.
as well just file it for California.
You are 100% right.
Okay. Thank you for your help. I really appreciate your feedback.
No, no problem.
Any
Sure.
follow-up questions? Marcella, put the URL code for the book, free book, back up there. So
This book gives you a lot of information about how to do things, but I want you all to know something. Yes, we give you the instructions, we help you as much as we can, but if your plane is over $75,000, you are so much better off having a nag like me in your life to make sure you stay on the straight and narrow. Because I train my consultants all to be the same as I am. And as much as you probably could do it on your own, one mistake can cost you that tax. So do you really want to do that? But it's up to you. It's like if I was a roofer, and I'll give you an example. If I was a roofer and you decided you wanted to do it on your own, you'd have to go down and buy the ladder at Home Depot for $180,000 for $180. Then you'd have to buy the hammer and all the supplies. Or you could hire the roofer to do it. So you could try to do this on your own and still have a leaky roof. Or you can hire me and know that I have a 100% success rate. So, you know, that's how you kind of have to look at this. But it is, at the end of the day, it's up to you. But I'd still love to talk to all of you. So give me a call and we can see what we can do to help.